Welcome to our True Crime Podcast, where we delve into the most intriguing cases. Today, we're focusing on the Waukesha Christmas Parade tragedy. On November 21, 2021, Darrell Brooks drove an SUV through the parade, killing 6 people and injuring dozens more. This incident stunned the community and sparked intense investigation.
That's a horrific event. Can you tell me more about Darrell Brooks and what led up to this incident?
Darrell Brooks, 39 at the time, had a history of run-ins with the law. He was involved in a domestic dispute with his ex-girlfriend, Erica Patterson, just before the incident. The fight turned physical, and Brooks left in his mother's red Ford SUV. Witnesses reported seeing him speeding away from the scene of the argument.
That sounds like a volatile situation. Did the police have any prior knowledge of this dispute?
Yes, Erica Patterson had been in contact with the police after the altercation. However, Brooks' actions escalated rapidly, and before authorities could intervene, he drove through the parade route. The investigation revealed that Brooks had been watching the Green Bay Packers game earlier, but claimed he was only in the area for that reason.
How did investigators determine that Brooks was the one driving the SUV?
Video footage from various angles showed Brooks behind the wheel. His mother owned the vehicle, which was registered in her name. Despite this evidence, Brooks initially denied involvement, suggesting someone else might have been driving.
That's surprising. What was the reaction of the community and witnesses during and after the incident?
Witnesses described the scene as chaotic, with people screaming and running for safety. The community came together to support the victims and their families, holding vigils and fundraising events.
How did the investigation proceed after Brooks' arrest?
Brooks was taken into custody and charged with multiple counts of homicide. During the trial, he acted as his own attorney, which led to some unusual courtroom dynamics. The prosecution presented extensive evidence, including footage of Brooks driving the SUV through the parade.
That must have been a difficult trial. What was the psychological profile of Brooks during this time?
Experts noted that Brooks displayed a mix of anger and denial. He maintained his innocence despite overwhelming evidence, suggesting a complex psychological state.
Were there any other factors or motives that investigators considered?
The investigation focused on the immediate events leading up to the incident, particularly the domestic dispute. However, there were speculations about potential mental health issues or other underlying factors.
How did Brooks' family and friends react to these developments?
Brooks' family was reportedly shocked and saddened by the events. Friends and acquaintances described him as someone who had a troubled past but was not known for violent outbursts.
Can you tell me more about the specific evidence that linked Brooks to the crime?
Beyond the video footage, physical evidence, like the vehicle's ownership and witness accounts, placed Brooks at the scene. Additionally, items found near his location after the incident, such as a gray hooded sweatshirt, matched the clothing he was seen wearing.
That's quite a detailed timeline. How did the community respond in terms of support and memorial services?
The community came together with vigils, fundraisers, and memorials for the victims. There was a strong sense of unity and solidarity in the face of such tragedy.
How did the investigation proceed after Brooks' arrest?
Brooks was taken into custody and charged with multiple counts of homicide. During the trial, he acted as his own attorney, which led to some unusual courtroom dynamics. The prosecution presented extensive evidence, including footage of Brooks driving the SUV through the parade.
That must have been a difficult trial. What was the psychological profile of Brooks during this time?
Experts noted that Brooks displayed a mix of anger and denial. He maintained his innocence despite overwhelming evidence, suggesting a complex psychological state.
Were there any other factors or motives that investigators considered?
The investigation focused on the immediate events leading up to the incident, particularly the domestic dispute. However, there were speculations about potential mental health issues or other underlying factors.
How did Brooks' family and friends react to these developments?
Brooks' family was reportedly shocked and saddened by the events. Friends and acquaintances described him as someone who had a troubled past but was not known for violent outbursts.
Can you tell me more about the specific evidence that linked Brooks to the crime?
Beyond the video footage, physical evidence, like the vehicle's ownership and witness accounts, placed Brooks at the scene. Additionally, items found near his location out after the incident, such as a gray hooded sweatshirt, matched the clothing he was seen wearing.
That's quite a detailed timeline. How did the community respond in terms of support and memorial services?
The community came together with vigils, fundraisers, and memorials for the victims. There was a strong sense of unity and solidarity in the face of such tragedy.
What were some of the most poignant moments during the trial?
The trial included emotional testimonies from victims' families and witnesses. Brooks' decision to act as his own attorney added a unique dynamic as he cross-examined witnesses and presented his defense.
How did the judge and jury respond to Brooks's defense?
Despite his efforts, the jury found Brooks guilty on all counts. The judge emphasized the severity of the crimes and the impact on the community.
What's the current status of Brooks? Is he serving a sentence?
Brooks was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His case continues to be a topic of discussion in terms of justice and community healing.
That's a heavy sentence. How has the community healed since then?
The healing process has been ongoing, with continued support for the victims' families and a renewed focus on community safety and mental health resources.
What about the psychological impact on Brooks himself? Has there been any insight into his mental state since the incident?
Brooks's mental health has been a subject of speculation, but there hasn't been a clear diagnosis or public statement about his current mental state.
That's fascinating. What role did forensic evidence play in building the case against Brooks?
Forensic evidence, such as vehicle analysis and witness accounts, was crucial. The SUV's registration and video footage were key pieces of evidence.
How did the investigators determine the exact path of the SUV during the incident?
Investigators used surveillance footage and witness statements to recreate the SUV's path through the parade route. This helped establish the intent and actions of Brooks during the incident.
Were there any other potential suspects or theories considered during the investigation?
Initially, Brooks suggested someone else might have been driving, but evidence consistently pointed to him as the perpetrator.
What about the impact on the community's perception of safety during events like parades?
The incident led to increased security measures at public events. Communities have become more vigilant about potential threats and have implemented new safety protocols.
How did the media coverage affect public perception of the case?
Media coverage was extensive, with many outlets focusing on the tragedy and the investigation. It kept the case in the public eye and sparked discussions about justice and community safety.
Can you elaborate on the specific charges Brooks faced and how they were determined?
Brooks was charged with 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and numerous counts of reckless endangerment. These charges were based on the severity of the incident and the number of victims.
That's a complex legal situation. How did Brooks's decision to act as his own attorney affect the trial proceedings?
It allowed Brooks to cross-examine witnesses, which sometimes led to tense exchanges. However, it also meant he had to present his own defense without legal representation.
What were some of the most challenging aspects of the trial for Brooks?
One of the biggest challenges was facing the emotional testimonies of the victims' families. Brooks' reactions during these moments were closely watched by the court.
How did the judge ensure fairness in the trial given Brooks's unusual defense strategy?
The judge closely monitored the proceedings to ensure Brooks understood his rights and the implications of acting as his own attorney. What kind of support did Brooks receive during the trial, if any? Brooks's family was present during parts of the trial, but he did not have legal representation. His decision to defend himself added a unique layer to the proceedings.
How did the community react to the verdict and sentencing?
The community felt a sense of justice had been served with the guilty verdict and life sentence. It was seen as a step towards healing and closure for the victims' families.
What about the long-term impact on Waukesha and similar communities?
The incident led to increased awareness about public safety and mental health. Communities have become more proactive in addressing potential threats and supporting those affected by such tragedies.
That's a significant legacy. How does this case compare to other similar incidents in terms of investigation and outcome?
This case stands out due to the severity of the incident and the unusual defense strategy employed by Brooks. It highlights the challenges in balancing justice with community healing.
What lessons can be learned from this case in terms of preventing similar incidents?
One key takeaway is the importance of addressing mental health issues and ensuring that individuals with a history of violence receive appropriate intervention.
How has the case influenced discussions about public safety and community resilience?
It has prompted discussions about enhancing security measures at public events and fostering community resilience in the face of tragedy.
What role did social media play in the case? both during and after the incident?
Social media helped spread information quickly, but it also raised concerns about misinformation and the impact on public perception.
How did the police and investigators handle the widespread media coverage?
They worked to provide accurate updates while managing the flow of information to avoid speculation and misinformation.
Can you elaborate on the psychological impact on the first responders and witnesses?
Many first responders and witnesses reported feeling traumatized by what they saw. The incident had a profound psychological impact on those involved.
What kind of support was provided to these individuals?
Counseling services were offered to help them cope with the trauma. The community also rallied around them with support and resources.
How did the community come together to support the victims and their families?
There were numerous fundraisers, vigils, and memorials. The community showed a strong sense of unity and solidarity in the face of such tragedy.
What about the impact on local businesses and the economy?
The incident led to a temporary economic downturn due to the shock and trauma. However, the community's resilience helped in recovery efforts.
Were there any significant leads in those first hours? Did anyone come forward with new information?
Several tips come in. One jogger, Sarah Fields, reports seeing a woman matching Ava's description walking with a man along Red River Street at 9:05 p.m., but it's unconfirmed. Another witness, Marcus Dillard, sees the blue sedan run a stop sign at 9:18 p.m., heading toward the outskirts of town. Police set up checkpoints, but the car isn't found.
What was the impact on Ava's family during all this? Were they involved in the search or working with investigators?
Ava's parents fly in from Portland the morning of January 30. Rachel Sinclair tells reporters, "We just want our daughter home. Please, if anyone knows anything, speak up." The family is deeply involved, working closely with police and volunteers. Ava's case quickly gets local and national media attention, putting more pressure on investigators.
Did the police bring in any outside experts or use advanced technology in the search?
Yes, they consult behavioral analyst Dr. Felicia Rowe, who profiles the suspect as organized, likely stalking Ava for weeks with prior knowledge of her routines. The FBI's cellular analysis team is brought in to map phone movements. Police use heat-sensing drones and review thousands of hours of surveillance footage from traffic and ATMs.
Did they find any other evidence from those surveillance reviews or the phone tracking?
On January 31, a break comes. A traffic camera miles north of Austin captures the blue sedan at 10:34 p.m. on the night of the disappearance. Police track the route to a remote storage facility where they find security footage of the car entering at 10:51 p.m. Granger's access card is used at the gate, tying him to the scene.
That seems damning. Did they search the storage unit? What did they find?
Police obtain a warrant and open Granger's rented unit. Inside, they find traces of blood on the floor, later confirmed as Ava's by DNA testing. There's also a roll of navy blue fiber, zip ties, and a used roll of duct tape. In the corner, they find Ava's backpack with her laptop and notes intact.
That's heartbreaking. Was there any sign of Ava herself at the storage facility or just her belongings?
No sign of Ava herself, just her belongings and the forensic traces. Cadaver dogs alert on a patch of earth behind the unit, but ground-penetrating radar finds no body. Investigators fear Ava may have been moved or is being held elsewhere. The discovery drives a massive escalation in the search effort.
Did anyone see Granger at the facility that night? Any eyewitnesses or camera footage aside from the access card record?
A security guard, Timothy Novak, recalls seeing a man matching Granger's description, acting nervous around 11 p.m. The facility's cameras show Granger leaving alone at 11:22 p.m., looking over his shoulder. Another tenant, Rita Collins, reports hearing a woman's muffled voice coming from the direction of Granger's unit around 11:10 p.m., but she didn't investigate.
Did that change the focus of the investigation? Were there new theories about what happened to Ava after that night?
Investigators now believe Ava may have been alive at least until 11:10 p.m. on January 29. They theorize Granger kept her in the storage unit before moving her. The search expands to abandoned buildings and rural properties owned by Granger's family. Psychological profilers warn that the longer Ava is missing, the greater the risk to her life, intensifying the urgency.
How did the community react as all of this came out? Was there a public outcry or involvement in the case?
The Austin community rallies around the Sinclair family. Hundreds turn out for vigils and search parties. Social media is flooded with hashtag #FindAva posts. Local businesses donate supplies and food to searchers. The case becomes a focal point for discussions about campus safety, stalking, and law enforcement response to missing persons.
Were there any major twists or revelations as the investigation continued, or did it become a waiting game?
A major twist occurs when a second person of interest is identified, Mason Reed, an ex-boyfriend Ava had a restraining order against in 2022 after he harassed her online. Reed is interviewed, but his alibi is airtight. He was in Seattle during the event, confirmed by flight records and hotel CCTV. This revelation complicates the narrative, raising questions about whether Ava had multiple stalkers.
That's a lot of layers. Did police ever determine if Granger and Reed had any connection, or if this was just a tragic coincidence?
Police find no link between Granger and Reed, no shared associates, phone records, or digital communication. The working theory is that Granger acted alone, having fixated on Ava after seeing her at a local coffee shop weeks prior. Witnesses recall seeing Granger staring at Ava on multiple occasions, but this didn't raise red flags at the time.
Looking back at the timeline, is there anything that stands out as a missed opportunity or red flag that could have changed the outcome?
Investigators and Ava's friends agree. The initial campus security report wasn't treated with urgency. Officer Tran later admits, "If we'd followed up more aggressively, maybe we could have deterred him." The blue sedan's repeated presence was another missed pattern. In hindsight, every detail, from Ava's anxious messages to the synthetic fibers, painted a picture that only became clear too late.
On the morning of August 4th, 2025, at precisely 7:36 a.m., maintenance worker Carlos Rivera was conducting routine checks at Briarwood Apartments in Raleigh, North Carolina. As he approached Unit 2B, he noticed the door was slightly ajar, which immediately struck him as odd. Carlos later told investigators, "I knew something wasn't right. The door never just swings open like that." He hesitated, called out, but received only silence. What he found inside would launch one of the year's most chilling investigations.
That must have been terrifying for Carlos. What exactly did he see when he stepped inside the apartment? Was there any sign of struggle or immediate evidence that something terrible had happened?
As Carlos entered, he was hit by a metallic scent, a sure sign to experienced first responders that blood was present. The living room showed clear signs of a violent struggle: an overturned coffee table, shattered glass on the floor, cushions strewn about. On the cream-colored carpet, investigators later documented several distinct bloodstains, with spatter patterns that suggested more than one blow had been exchanged. Carlos retreated immediately and called 911, his voice reportedly shaking as he relayed, "There's blood everywhere. I think someone's hurt real bad."
How did the police respond to the scene? Which officers arrived first, and what were their initial actions? Did they treat it as a crime scene right away?
Patrol officers Jasmine Taylor and Mark Holloway arrived at 7:49 a.m., just 13 minutes after Carlos's call. They secured the perimeter and instructed all residents in adjacent units to stay indoors. Taylor, the more experienced of the two, immediately recognized the need to preserve evidence. She radioed in for backup and requested the crime scene unit. As they made a quick sweep, they found no sign of the apartment's primary resident, 19-year-old Marissa Holt. Officer Holloway's first report notes, "Heavy blood presence, signs of struggle, no victim located. Foul play strongly suspected."
Did they find anything else in those first moments? Items out of place, signs of forced entry, or anything that pointed to what might have happened to Marissa?
There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks or windows. However, investigators did note a set of muddy footprints leading from the living room toward the back door, which was left slightly ajar. On the kitchen counter, Marissa's phone was found, screen cracked with a single text message draft open. "If anything happens," the message was never sent. Also found were 2 coffee mugs, both half full, indicating she may have had company shortly before the attack.
That unsent text sounds ominous. Did forensics get any prints or DNA evidence from the mugs or the footprints? And was there any indication who the second person might have been?
Forensics dusted both mugs for fingerprints and managed to lift 2 distinct sets. One matched Marissa's, the other was unknown, entered into the system as print B. The footprints, a men's size 11 Nike, were photographed and preserved. Investigators began canvassing the building for anyone who owned matching shoes. The DNA team also swabbed the mugs and the bloodstains, sending samples to the state lab for urgent analysis.
That's a major lead. Who is Marcus Bellamy, and what's his connection to Marissa or the apartment complex? Did he have any motive to hurt her?
Marcus Bellamy, age 27, worked as a delivery driver and had a history of petty theft. He'd been seen in the Briarwood complex before, delivering food and packages. When questioned, he denied knowing Marissa, but a package addressed to her was found in his delivery van, undelivered, with his fingerprints on it. Investigators pressed him hard, but Marcus maintained, "I never went inside. I just left stuff at the door."
Did anyone else see Marcus at the complex around the time of the incident? Or was there any evidence placing him inside Marissa's apartment that night?
A resident, Tasha Green, reported seeing Marcus in the hallway near 2B at around 11 p.m. He was looking at his phone, seemed jumpy, like he was waiting on someone. Surveillance didn't capture him inside, but the muddy footprints matched a pair of work boots found in Marcus's van. Forensics later confirmed traces of Marissa's blood on the left boot's sole. That's pretty damning. How did Marcus react when confronted with the blood evidence and the witness testimony?
Marcus grew visibly agitated when shown the lab results. He insisted, "I don't know how her blood got there. Maybe I stepped in something outside her door." When pressed about his whereabouts after midnight, his story faltered. He first claimed to be home, but later admitted he was out driving. Detectives confronted him with Tasha's statement and the boot evidence, but Marcus refused to answer further without a lawyer present.
At this point, did investigators consider anyone else as a potential suspect, or did they focus all their energy on Marcus after the forensic link?
While Marcus Bellamy became the primary suspect, lead detective Maria Chen kept the investigation broad. She noted the absence of forced entry, suggesting Marissa might have known her attacker. They looked into her close circle, friends, co-workers, even her new neighbor, Tyler Graves, who'd moved in just 2 weeks earlier. Tyler's background check revealed a sealed juvenile record, which raised eyebrows.
That's intriguing. What did they find out about Tyler Graves? Did he have any history of violence?
Yes, inside a locked drawer, detectives discovered a scrapbook filled with magazine cutouts. What was disturbing was that the faces of the models were replaced with photographs of a young girl, later confirmed to be Randy's co-worker's teenage daughter. The arrangement showed obsessive tendencies and a fixation on young girls. A forensic psychologist later analyzed the scrapbook, noting signs of sexual deviance and predatory behavior. This insight helped prosecutors build a psychological profile, painting Taylor as both methodical and deeply disturbed.
That must have been a huge turning point. How did investigators handle the discovery of the scrapbook and its contents? Did they interview the coworker or the girl featured in those photos?
Detectives immediately contacted the coworker, Angela Martin, whose daughter, Lily, was identified in the altered photos. Angela confirmed Randy's odd behavior and his tendency to linger near Lily at work. Lily herself reported uncomfortable encounters. Randy often made inappropriate comments, once referencing how pretty she looked in her school uniform. Witness statements corroborated the theory of Taylor's predatory obsession, adding a disturbing layer to the investigation. All interviews were recorded and transcripts preserved for use in trial.
Did the forensic team find any digital evidence, like emails, texts, or internet searches, that linked Randy Taylor to Alexis Murphy or other potential victims?
Investigators seized Randy's cell phone and laptop during the search. Digital forensic experts cloned hard drives and SIM cards, combing through deleted messages and browser histories. They recovered several deleted texts between Randy and Alexis, including one sent at 5:43 p.m. on the day she vanished. "Meet me at the station. Don't tell anyone." Investigators also found searches for disposing evidence and missing persons in Virginia. No links to other victims surfaced, but the digital trail cemented his connection to Alexis on the night she disappeared.
That's unsettling. Did any neighbors or witnesses provide statements about Randy's activities or movements around the time Alexis went missing?
2 neighbors, Martha Ellis and Jimmy Boyd, gave critical testimonies. Martha, living across the street, saw Randy return to his camper at 6:40 p.m., looking agitated and carrying a duffel bag. Jimmy, who walked his dog nightly, recalled seeing Randy's truck parked off the usual spot and described hearing loud, muffled shouting from inside the camper around 7 p.m. Both statements aligned with the timeline established by digital evidence and CCTV footage, reinforcing suspicions of foul play.
How did law enforcement use all this evidence to build their case? Was there a particular moment when everything clicked for the investigators?
As evidence mounted, detectives developed a detailed timeline. Between 6:17 and 7:05 p.m. on August 3rd, Alexis Murphy was last seen alive, entered Randy's camper, and never left. The DNA on the shirt, the matching soil samples, the disturbing scrapbook, and digital communications formed a cohesive narrative. Detective Lisa Henderson, lead on the case, stated, "The forensic evidence told its own story, a tragic, harrowing account of Alexis's final hours." Once the lab confirmed the blood belonged to Alexis, the case shifted from missing person to homicide.
Did forensic experts testify about their findings? What did the DNA analysts and psychologists say in court about the evidence in Randy's psychological profile?
During the pretrial hearing, Dr. William Hatcher, head of state forensic labs, presented DNA results. The probability the blood belonged to anyone but Alexis Murphy is less than 1 in a billion. Forensic psychologist Dr. Elaine Porter described Randy Taylor's scrapbook as evidence of profound sexual deviance, obsessive-compulsive traits, and predatory fixation. Their testimonies were pivotal, explaining complex scientific concepts in plain language for the jury and driving home the significance of each forensic finding.
Did the defense try to challenge the chain of custody, suggesting possible contamination during evidence transport?
In response, prosecutors meticulously documented every step: timestamps, handler names, and photographs. Lab logs confirmed samples remained sealed and untouched until analysis. The prosecution's transparency and attention to detail diffused these challenges. Judge Karen Vasquez commented, "The procedures followed were exemplary, leaving no room for doubt regarding evidence integrity."
Did investigators use any advanced forensic technology, like 3D crime scene reconstruction or new DNA sequencing methods, to bolster their findings?
Yes, for the reconstruction, they used Faro 3D laser scanners to map the camper's interior in minute detail. Experts created a virtual model showing blood spatter angles and object placements, which visually demonstrated the likely sequence of events. Additionally, the lab used next-generation sequencing for DNA testing, providing ultra-high accuracy and confirming the presence of Alexis's genetic material on multiple items. These technological advances lent powerful visual and scientific clarity during the trial.
That's unsettling. Did any evidence outside the camper, like footprints, tire tracks, or discarded items, that helped the investigation?
In the woods behind the camper, search dogs led investigators to a single pink sneaker partially buried in loose soil. Forensic analysis revealed Alexis's DNA on the insole and matched dirt composition to the samples inside the camper. Plaster casts of tire impressions near the discovery site matched Randy's truck, verified by tread pattern analysis. These outdoor findings expanded the crime scene and corroborated the timeline of Alexis's last known movements.
That's unsettling. Did any signs that Alexis might have struggled or tried to escape? Was there evidence of defensive wounds or other indicators?
The blood spatter on the shirt suggested a struggle. Specifically, arterial spray consisted with a defensive injury. Lab results showed traces of Alexis' skin cells beneath her fingernails, indicating she fought back, possibly scratching her assailant. Forensic odontologists found bite marks on the shirt sleeve matching Alexis's dental records, further suggesting a desperate struggle. These details painted a vivid, heartbreaking picture of her final moments.
How did investigators document and preserve all this evidence for the trial? Were there any special procedures or protocols they followed?
Evidence collection followed strict protocols. Each item was photographed in situ, cataloged with unique identifiers, and sealed in tamper-evident bags. Chain of custody forms tracked handlers from scene to lab. Digital evidence was copied onto encrypted drives with hash verification to prevent alteration. Every step was logged, and video documentation was used for particularly sensitive items, ensuring everything could be recreated and scrutinized during trial.
Did the prosecution use any visual aids or demonstrations during trial to help the jury understand the forensic findings?
Absolutely. Prosecutors presented interactive 3D reconstructions of the camper, blood spatter animations, and side-by-side DNA sequence charts. Expert witnesses used laser pointers to highlight evidence in virtual tours of the crime scene. These visual aids helped jurors grasp the complexity of forensic science, making the data tangible and understandable, which was crucial for such a technical case.
Did any other witnesses or experts weigh in on the forensic analysis? like independent consultants or outside forensic labs?
The defense hired Dr. Marcus Bell, an independent DNA consultant, to review state lab findings. Dr. Bell's analysis confirmed the original results, noting the DNA evidence is irrefutable and meticulously handled. Additionally, outside fingerprint analysts from the FBI validated the print matches, reinforcing the integrity of the investigation. Their unbiased assessments added credibility and weight to the prosecution's case.
Did any unexpected twists or revelations during the forensic analysis that changed the direction of the investigation?
One major twist came when digital forensics uncovered deleted snapshots on Randy's phone, photos showing Alexis in the camper, time-stamped minutes after her arrival. These images hadn't appeared in initial searches, but advanced recovery techniques brought them to light. This revelation not only confirmed Alexis's presence, but also suggested premeditation, as Randy had documented the encounter.
Did forensic evidence uncover any links to other crimes or missing persons cases? Was there any sign Randy Taylor might have been involved in other incidents?
While investigators cross-referenced DNA profiles with unsolved cases statewide, no direct links emerged. However, a review of Randy's digital history revealed online searches for several missing girls in surrounding counties, raising suspicions but yielding no concrete evidence. Detectives remain vigilant, keeping his profile flagged for future cold case reviews.
How did Alexis Murphy's family react to the forensic findings? Did they participate in the investigation or provide key insights?
Alexis' mother, Laura Murphy, participated closely in the investigation, providing hair samples for comparison and sharing personal anecdotes that helped build Alexis' psychological profile. The family's emotional statements during court, especially when learning about the DNA match, were deeply moving. Laura told reporters, "The science gave us answers, but it couldn't bring Alexis home." Her strength and cooperation were vital to the investigation's success.
Did investigators use any psychological profiling to anticipate Randy Taylor's next moves or search new locations for evidence?
Yes, forensic psychologists built a behavioral profile, noting Randy's compulsive patterns, revisiting crime scenes, collecting souvenirs, and digitally erasing traces. This profile predicted he might return to the woods, prompting surveillance that eventually helped recover Alexis's sneaker. Profilers also suggested searching his workplace for hidden evidence, though nothing incriminating was found there.
Did forensic entomology or other specialized fields come into play? Were there any clues from insects, plant growth, or environmental factors?
Forensic entomologists analyzed insect activity on the recovered sneaker, estimating it had been in the soil for 2 to 3 days based on larval development. Botanists also examined root disturbances in the burial site, determining it was fresh and likely dug on the night Alexis vanished. These niche sciences provided key pieces of the puzzle, helping further establish the timeline.
Did investigators find any errors or setbacks in the forensic investigation? If so, how did the team overcome them?
Early on, a mislabeling incident occurred with one evidence bag, fortunately caught during routine inventory. The item was recatalogued and the error documented. Investigators also faced delays due to lab backlogs. Absolutely. Greg's wife, Susan, insisted her husband was with her all evening, but her cell phone location data showed she was at a friend's house from 8:30 to midnight. Greg's best friend, Tom, initially vouched for his alibi, only to later admit he was pressured by Greg to lie to police.
Did the investigation uncover any forensic evidence at Greg's home or on his property?
A search warrant led to the discovery of a black duffel bag hidden in Greg's garage, containing a pair of muddy gloves, a roll of duct tape, and a torn piece of fabric identical to Emily's jacket. Forensic tests found traces of Emily's hair and blood on the gloves and duct tape, further linking Greg to the scene.
Did Greg ever confess or offer any explanation once confronted with all this evidence?
Greg maintained his innocence, refusing to speak after his arrest. However, jailhouse informant reports later surfaced. Greg allegedly told another inmate, "They'll never find her. I made sure of that." While not a confession, it suggested a chilling confidence in having covered his tracks.
Were any behavioral experts or psychologists brought in to assess Greg's state of mind or risk level?
Dr. Valdez conducted a formal assessment, describing Greg as exhibiting narcissistic traits and a profound lack of empathy. She warned he was likely to reoffend if released, noting his ability to manipulate those around him and his calculated risk-taking.
Did any of the forensic evidence provide new leads on Emily's possible whereabouts?
Soil samples from Greg's boots contained a rare mineral composition matching a specific stretch of woodland 10 miles north of Meadowbrook. Cadaver dogs and search teams were deployed, and investigators discovered a shallow grave containing Emily's necklace and a blood-stained scarf, but Emily herself remained missing.
Did the community respond to the news about Greg and the discovery in the woods?
The Meadowbrook community was shaken to its core. Vigils were held at Emily's school, and hundreds joined search parties. Parents voiced outrage at the failure to detect Greg's predatory behavior sooner, demanding reforms in volunteer screening and background checks.
Were there any new suspects or alternate theories that emerged as a result of the investigation's findings?
While some speculated about an accomplice, especially due to Greg's motorcycle club ties, no concrete evidence linked anyone else to the crime. A few fringe theories circulated online, including possible involvement by a shadowy figure known only by the alias Spectre, but investigators focused squarely on Greg due to overwhelming physical evidence.
Did any evidence suggest Greg had targeted other victims in the past, or was Emily the only known case?
After Greg's arrest, cold case detectives reviewed unsolved disappearances in the region. 2 families came forward, reporting similar patterns, threatening messages, and sightings of Greg's distinctive leather jacket. Investigators reopened these cases, though no definitive link was yet established.
How did Emily's family cope in the aftermath, especially with so many unanswered questions?
The Lark family was devastated but determined. Linda Lark became a vocal advocate for missing persons, pushing for legislative reforms. Caleb began therapy, grappling with guilt and trauma. Jessica started a support group for siblings of missing children, channeling her grief into advocacy.
Did experts weigh in on the effectiveness of the police response and investigative techniques used in the case?
Law enforcement experts praised the team's methodical approach, combining witness testimony, digital forensics, and psychological profiling. However, they also acknowledged critical missteps, like the initial failure to prioritize the threatening messages, which might have enabled an earlier intervention.
Were there any significant revelations or twists in the case during the trial phase or subsequent investigation?
In pretrial discovery, Greg's computer revealed hundreds of encrypted files, some containing surveillance footage of Emily and other girls in Meadowbrook. This evidence not only strengthened the case, but shocked the community, raising fears of a broader pattern of predatory behavior.
Did any of the witnesses or family members testify at Greg's trial? What impact did their testimonies have?
Emily's brother Caleb delivered emotionally charged testimony, recounting his last memories of Emily and the events of that night. Mia Tan, the soccer teammate, described Greg's unsettling behavior in detail. Their testimonies painted a vivid, haunting portrait of Greg's calculated manipulation and the profound loss suffered by the Lark family.
Were there any notable moments of tension or revelation during the witness testimonies?
Yes, during cross-examination, Greg's wife broke down, admitting she'd suspected Greg of infidelity but never imagined his involvement in something so sinister. Her raw emotion stunned the courtroom, adding a new layer of complexity and heartbreak to the proceedings.
Did any psychological experts testify at the trial? What was the impact of their expert opinions?
Dr. Valdez took the stand, explaining Greg's psychological profile and the methods predators use to infiltrate communities. She warned, "These individuals thrive on secrecy and opportunity. Greg Sanders exemplifies the dangers lurking beneath a veneer of normalcy."
How did the prosecution and defense handle the conflicting statements from Greg's friends and family?
The prosecution highlighted the inconsistencies in Greg's alibi, exposing how friends and family had been manipulated into providing false statements. The defense struggled to counter the mounting forensic and testimonial evidence, focusing instead on procedural errors and casting doubt on witness reliability.
Did the forensic evidence hold up under scrutiny during the trial? Were there any challenges to its integrity?
The defense attempted to challenge the chain of custody on the blood evidence, but meticulous documentation and expert testimony upheld its validity. The boot print analysis, soil samples, and digital records all remained unshaken under cross-examination.
Looking back, were there missed opportunities or overlooked clues that, if caught sooner, might have changed the outcome?
In hindsight, the community's failure to act on earlier warning signs, Greg's inappropriate behavior, threatening messages, and odd late-night trips proved costly. Experts emphasize the importance of vigilance, open communication, and thorough background checks to prevent similar tragedies.
Did the case prompt any changes in local policy or law enforcement procedures?
Yes, Meadowbrook implemented new policies requiring rigorous background checks for all volunteers, mandatory training on recognizing predatory behavior, and improved protocols for responding to digital threats.
As the trial concluded, what was the atmosphere like in the courtroom and community?
Tension and sorrow hung heavy in the air. The community, once trusted and close-knit, was now wary and vigilant. Emily's family found solace in the outpouring of support, but the wound of her absence remained raw. Justice for Emily became a rallying cry, not just for Meadowbrook, but for countless families nationwide.
With so many details and revelations, how did the media and public respond to the case?
The case dominated headlines, sparking debates over online safety, community trust, and the responsibility of institutions to protect vulnerable individuals. True crime forums dissected every detail, and advocacy groups used the case to push for nationwide reforms.
Is there anything about Emily's character or life that stuck with you during your research? Any details you think listeners should remember?
Absolutely. Emily was an aspiring artist, known for her sketches of woodland animals and her gentle, empathetic nature. Friends described her as the heart of every room, always willing to help others. Her absence left a palpable void in Meadowbrook, a stark reminder of the human cost behind every headline.
What's the legacy of this case for Emily's family and for others who followed the investigation?
For the Lark family, Emily's memory became a catalyst for change. Her story inspired legislative reform and ignited a movement for missing persons advocacy. For the broader public, it served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers that can hide in plain sight, and the power of community vigilance.
Can you share any final thoughts on the key lessons or takeaways from the witness interviews and testimonies?
Witnesses shaped every turn of this case, from the neighbors' vigilance to the courage of Emily's friends in speaking out. Their voices, coupled with forensic science and expert insight, painted a picture that was as complex as it was heartbreaking. The lesson is clear. Every detail matters, every voice counts, and justice often rests on the courage of those willing to tell the truth. Let's pick up where we left off. The community of Beddoe, South Wales, stunned after the discovery of a body wrapped in 41 layers of plastic in a garden shed behind Lee Sabine's home on Church Street, November 3, 2015. The remains were identified as John Sabine, missing since 1997. Lee, now 74, had become the prime suspect in what locals called the body next door.
That detail about 41 layers of plastic is wild. How did investigators even begin to untangle who was responsible? And what was Lee's reaction when they confronted her?
The crime scene team spent hours peeling away each layer, cataloging everything meticulously. Forensics found John's skull had multiple blunt force fractures, consistent with repeated blows from a heavy instrument. Lee, when questioned, maintained calm, claiming John had simply vanished years ago. But when pressed, she said, "John always liked to leave without warning." Her detached demeanor immediately raised suspicions.
Did Lee have any prior history with law enforcement or suspicious behavior that might suggest a motive or pattern?
Lee was known for her eccentricity, outspoken, always sporting flamboyant hats. Neighbors described her as charming but secretive. Police found no prior criminal record, but her prior marriages ended abruptly, with her first husband dying in a car accident under ambiguous circumstances in 1968. Investigators began to dig into her financial records, finding she'd continued to claim John's pension for years after his disappearance.
That's a significant motive. Were there other suspects, or was the focus solely on Lee after the initial investigation?
Early on, police considered a neighbor, Alan Pretty, who often helped Lee with gardening. He'd been seen near the shed days before the body was found. He volunteered for a polygraph and passed, his alibi verified by CCTV from the local grocer, time-stamped November 2nd. Attention shifted back to Lee, especially after forensics revealed John's remains had been handled post-mortem with surgical precision. Lee was a former nurse.
That surgical precision is disturbing. Did forensic experts find anything that might indicate someone else helped Lee, or was this all her doing?
Forensic anthropologist Dr. Sion Davies noted, "Media descended on Beddoe, dubbing Lee the lady in the shed. Local tabloids speculated wildly, complicating police efforts. False leads flooded the tip line, but ultimately press coverage kept public pressure on the investigation, ensuring no stone was left unturned."
Were there any legal ramifications for Lee's pension fraud, even though she wasn't tried for murder?
The Crown pursued civil recovery of the fraudulently obtained funds, freezing Lee's assets posthumously. Her estate was auctioned, with proceeds returned to the government. The legal process set precedents for posthumous prosecution of financial crimes.
Did investigators ever consider the possibility of other victims, given Lee's history and psychological profile?
Police reviewed her past marriages and the suspicious death of her first husband. While no concrete evidence surfaced of additional victims, experts cautioned that Lee's pattern of secrecy and control could have masked other crimes.
What legacy did the case leave for the community and law enforcement in terms of lessons learned?
For Beddow, the case shattered assumptions about safety and trust. Law enforcement adopted stricter missing person protocols and improved forensic training. Detective Morgan summarized it. We learned that evil can hide in plain sight, even behind a neighbor's door.
That's haunting. Are there any aspects of the case still under investigation, or is it considered closed?
Officially, the case is closed. However, cold case detectives continue to review unsolved disappearances in the area for potential links. Lee's shadow still lingers, a reminder of the secrets that can fester for decades.
Did experts ever speculate about what might have driven Lee to keep the secret for so long, especially with so many potential risks?
Dr. Morgan theorized Lee's need for control outweighed fear of discovery. Her calculated actions, layering plastic, maintaining lies, forging documents, suggested a personality driven by desperation and a relentless desire to shape her own reality.
Did Lee's family ever reconcile with the truth, or did they dispute the findings?
Lee's siblings accepted the evidence, but distant relatives insisted she was misunderstood. The Sabine family remains divided, some seeking closure, others clinging to denial, a testament to the emotional fallout of such revelations.
With all the evidence compiled, what's the prevailing theory among investigators today?
The consensus is that Lee killed John in a calculated act, driven by financial gain and psychological control. The meticulously planned concealment and ongoing deception point to a crime committed not in a moment of panic, but with chilling deliberation.
Was there anything investigators wished they'd done differently, looking back on the case?
Detective Morgan expressed regret over not pursuing the missing person case more aggressively in 1997. We trusted too much. Next time, we'll look deeper. The case transformed local policing and inspired a new vigilance in missing person investigations.
Are there any memorials or tributes for John Sabine, given the tragic circumstances of his death?
The community placed a memorial plaque in the churchyard. John Sabine, never forgotten. His daughter Helen leads annual vigils, ensuring his story is told and his memory honored, a small measure of solace after years of silence.
That's powerful. Are there any unanswered questions or lingering mysteries about Lee or the case that still haunt investigators?
The greatest mystery remains Lee's true motive. Was it solely financial, or did deeper psychological wounds drive her actions? Investigators still puzzle over her diaries, searching for elusive clues to her state of mind.
Did forensic psychologists believe Lee was capable of remorse, or was she emotionally detached until the end?
Dr. Morgan concluded Lee showed classic signs of emotional detachment and pathological narcissism. Her only regret was being caught. For her, remorse was an alien concept. This insight shaped the psychological understanding of the case.
How did the forensic findings ultimately shape public perception of the case?
The detailed forensic analysis, blunt force trauma, defensive wounds, plastic wrapping, made the case a chilling example of hidden domestic violence. Public opinion shifted from shock to empathy for John, with many recognizing the signs of coercive control too late.
Did the case influence legislation or policy regarding missing persons or elder abuse?
Yes, the Welsh Assembly passed reforms mandating annual welfare checks on pensioners and stricter investigation protocols for unexplained absences. The case became a catalyst for broader change in how authorities respond to missing adults.
Are there any final twists or revelations that emerged after Lee's death, perhaps in the form of new evidence or confessions?
After Lee's death, her lawyer released a sealed letter. I have lived my life as I saw fit. Let the truth rest with me. No further confessions were made, but the letter underscored her enduring secrecy and control over the narrative.
That's an eerie end to such a complex case. What do you think the biggest takeaway is for true crime enthusiasts and investigators alike?
The case teaches us that evil often hides behind ordinary facades, and every missing person deserves thorough investigation. It's a reminder to trust evidence, not appearances, and to seek truth beneath layers of deception, sometimes quite literally.
Thanks for walking me through all those details, Harper. It's almost unbelievable how many layers, literal and figurative, were involved. I'm still processing it.
The story of Lee and John Sabine lingers precisely because it's so layered: pain, secrecy, deception, and ultimately the slow unraveling of truth. It's a testament to the power of forensic science and the resilience of those seeking answers.
I can't wait to hear what comes next. Are there still more revelations to come as the investigation wraps up?
Absolutely. In Part 7, we'll explore the aftermath, the community's reckoning, the family's search for closure, and the final twists that surfaced as the dust settled. The truth may be out, but the story isn't over yet.
The investigation truly hits a pivotal moment on March 17, 2025, when forensic analyst Dr. Mia Grayson uncovers a latent fingerprint on the inside of the back door at the Harrington residence. This print matches an individual not previously considered, a local handyman named Simon Voss, who had done repairs at the house just weeks before the murder.
Investigators cross-reference his work logs and discover a gap on the night of March 2, the exact time the murder is believed to have occurred.
Wait, that's huge. So Simon Voss wasn't even on their radar before this. What was his connection to the Harrington family, and how did investigators miss him initially?
Voss had been hired by the Harringtons for minor electrical work, but he was never considered a suspect because he had reportedly finished all tasks by February 28th. Mrs. Harrington, however, later recalled a strange incident. Simon returned unexpectedly on March 1, claiming to need access to the basement to check a fuse. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's Ring camera shows Voss leaving the property later that evening, contradicting his initial statement that he hadn't visited after February.
That surveillance footage sounds crucial. Did investigators find anything else on those tapes? Was Simon seen anywhere near the house during the night of the crime?
Yes, and this is where things get even more intriguing. At 10:43 p.m., the neighbor's camera caught a shadowy figure slipping through the side gate of the Harringtons' backyard. Forensic image enhancement confirmed the figure's gait and build matched Voss. Investigators also noticed he was carrying what appeared to be a toolbox. Later, a similar toolbox was found abandoned in nearby woods, containing a blood-stained screwdriver and a torn work glove.
That's really specific evidence. Did the blood on the screwdriver match the victim? And what about the glove? Any DNA or fibers?
The blood on the screwdriver matched the DNA profile of Daniel Harrington, the victim. The torn glove, examined with advanced forensic techniques, revealed skin cells matching Voss. But here's the twist. Mixed in with Voss's DNA was a trace belonging to a third party, an unidentified female. This opens the possibility of an accomplice or another witness.
Wow, an unidentified female DNA sample? Did they have any leads on who this could be? Were there any women connected to Simon Voss or the Harrington family?
Investigators dug deep into Voss's background and discovered he'd recently ended a tumultuous relationship with a woman named Clara Jensen, who had a prior record for theft and breaking and entering. Witnesses recall seeing Clara near the Harrington residence in late February. She seemed unusually persistent and agitated, especially when Mrs. Harrington declined to donate. Investigators found that the charity was fictitious, another piece of the puzzle suggesting Clara's involvement in a staged approach to the house.
So at this point, both Simon and Clara look suspicious. Were there any further revelations about their relationship or collaboration? Any witnesses who saw them together around the time of the murder?
A major breakthrough came when a local bartender, Marcus Eldridge, reported seeing Simon and Clara together at the Blue Lantern pub on March 2 around 8:30. He recalled Clara telling Simon, "Tonight's the night, no turning back." Security footage corroborated their presence, showing them leaving together shortly after 9 p.m.
That narrows their timeline to within hours of the crime.
That's intense. Did Marcus Eldridge share anything about their demeanor or what they talked about? Any signs they were planning something?
Marcus described Simon as tense and distracted, constantly checking his phone. Clara appeared animated, almost frantic. She was overheard saying, "Tonight's the night, no turning back." Investigators speculate this refers to Mrs. Harrington's late-night yoga class, which would leave Daniel alone at home, the precise window when the murder occurred.
That's chilling. Did police confront Simon and Clara with this evidence? What was their reaction, and did they provide any explanations?
When confronted, Simon initially denied everything, but faced with the fingerprint, surveillance footage, and DNA evidence, his story began to unravel. He admitted to being at the house, but claimed Clara forced him to go through with it. Clara, meanwhile, denied involvement, insisting she was at her sister's apartment that night. but her alibi collapsed when phone GPS data placed him near the Harrington residence at 10:50.
This GPS evidence sounds irrefutable. Did they find any other physical evidence linking Clara directly to the scene? Any items or forensic places?
Investigators discovered a strand of long red hair on the victim's sweater, matching Clara's distinct hair color and DNA. Additionally, a partial thumbprint on the back door matched her fingerprint. The crime lab also found traces of Clara's perfume, an unusual citrus blend, on Daniel's collar, placing her in close contact with the victim.
That paints a pretty damning picture. Were there any other witnesses or neighbors who saw or heard anything unusual that night?
Yes, Mrs. Garcia, who lives directly behind the Harrington, reported hearing.
At present, the evidence points primarily to Simon and Clara. However, detectives remain open to the possibility of additional involvement, especially given the complex web of relationships and Clara's history of manipulation. The investigation remains active on those fronts.
With everything that's come to light, what's the emotional impact on the wider community? Any support groups or outreach efforts in response to the case?
The Harrington family has started a foundation in Daniel's memory, focusing on mental health and violence prevention. Local organizations have held vigils and forums to support those affected and to discuss the underlying issues of manipulation, trauma, and coercion highlighted by the case.
That's a powerful response. As the trial approaches, what are the next steps for prosecutors and defense attorneys? Any major strategies or tactics revealed?
Prosecutors are building a case centered on Clara's premeditation and Simon's active participation. The defense is expected to focus on Simon's psychological profile and Clara's alleged coercion. Both sides are preparing to call expert witnesses and present extensive forensic evidence.
With all these major breakthroughs and plot twists, what's the mood among investigators? Are they confident in their case, or is there still anxiety about the outcome?
Investigators expressed cautious optimism, recognizing the strength of the forensic, digital, and witness evidence. Still, they acknowledge the challenges posed by psychological complexity and potential jury bias. The mood is tense but determined as the case moves toward trial.
It's been a whirlwind of revelations. Are there any final thoughts from experts or detectives about the broader significance of this case?
Detective Chen stressed the importance of community vigilance and the dangers of manipulation, stating, "This case reminds us that evil can hide in plain sight and the bonds of trust can be deeply exploited." Experts agree the case is a watershed moment, highlighting the need for awareness and intervention in toxic relationships. 5 years have passed since Madison Maddie Ellison vanished from the small town of Williston, North Dakota, on the night of May 28, 2020. The case's current status is still officially classified as an open missing persons investigation, with the local PD and the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit both involved. Maddie's family continues to hold annual vigils at the corner of 7th and Spruce, where she was last seen outside the faded blue door of her apartment building.
Has there been any real progress in the investigation recently, Harper? What are the authorities focusing on now after all these years?
Just this past May, Detective Sarah Mendoza confirmed that the task force had received over 200 new tips since the 5th anniversary coverage aired. They're currently re-examining digital evidence, Maddie's phone records, geolocation data, and security camera footage, especially from the neighboring gas station, which caught a shadowy figure near Maddie's building at 11:47 p.m. The footage is grainy, but experts at Quantico have been attempting enhancement.
Was there ever any breakthrough with that footage? Did forensic analysis reveal anything about the mystery figure's identity or actions that night?
The FBI's digital forensics team identified that the figure's gait and build are consistent with one of the original suspects, local handyman Greg Buzz Bjornson. He was interviewed repeatedly in 2020 and even took a voluntary polygraph, which he passed. However, Buzz was found decapitated 2 weeks after Maddie went missing, his severed head discovered in an abandoned farmhouse 10 miles outside town. But his body has never been recovered. The case remains eerily intertwined, yet authorities maintain there's no proven link between Buzz's murder and Maddie's disappearance.
That's chilling. Did investigators ever establish a motive for Buzz's murder or any connection to Maddie's case despite their claims?
Buzz was rumored to owe money to several local drug dealers, and some townspeople speculated Maddie might have been abducted as leverage or retribution. Detective Mendoza has stated, "We would be irresponsible not to pursue every theory, including revenge or a connection between Buzz and Maddie." Yet, despite extensive interviews and background checks on Buzz's known associates, no clear motive or suspect in his murder has emerged. 4 individuals were charged, but none confessed or implicated anyone in Maddie's case.
Has there been any credible witness sightings of Maddie in the year since her disappearance? Any leads that seemed promising?
There have been 8 reported sightings of Maddie, ranging from a possible glimpse at a truck stop in Billings, Montana, to a woman matching her description seen at a shelter in Omaha. None have been substantiated by forensic evidence. The most credible was in July 2022, when a waitress at the Red Owl Diner in Fargo swore she served a nervous, bruised young woman who matched Maddie's description. CCTV from the diner was inconclusive, but the waitress described a distinctive tattoo, a small bluebird on her left wrist, matching Maddie's.
That's powerful. Did the investigators follow up on that specific tattoo detail? Were there any other reports of someone with that bluebird tattoo?
Agents canvassed Fargo's tattoo parlors, hospitals, and shelters, showing Maddie's photo and the tattoo design. No confirmed matches turned up. The tattoo is unique. Maddie got it on her 18th birthday, and only 3 artists in the region recall inking anything similar. The FBI even brought in a forensic artist to sketch the tattoo based on archival photos, distributing flyers statewide, but so far, nothing concrete has come from it.
What about the digital evidence? Did Maddie's phone, laptop, or social media accounts offer any clues or patterns that pointed to her whereabouts or state of mind before she vanished?
Maddie's phone pinged a cell tower 3 miles east of town at 12:11, about half an hour after she was last seen. The signal abruptly cut out. Her phone's never been located. Her laptop, recovered from her apartment, revealed some troubling searches in the weeks before her disappearance. How to disappear without a trace, domestic violence support North Dakota, and bus schedules to Minneapolis. She also exchanged a series of encrypted messages on Signal with an unknown contact, whom the FBI has yet to identify.
Do investigators think those searches suggest Maddie planned to run away, or could she have been reaching out for help?
Theories are divided. Behavioral analysts say the searches could indicate both intent to escape a threatening situation and attempts to prepare for leaving. Maddie's diary, found hidden beneath a loose floorboard, contains references to a shadow following her, a possible stalker. She writes, "If something happens to me, tell Mom I tried." This cryptic warning has fueled speculation that she feared for her life.
Has the stalker theory been fully investigated? Were there any suspects or evidence that pointed to someone specifically targeting Maddie?
The stalker theory is one of the most actively pursued leads. In the months before she vanished, Maddie reported receiving anonymous threatening notes left on her car windshield. "You can't hide forever," and "I see you." Handwriting analysis by Dr. Emily Carter from the University of North Dakota concluded the notes were likely written by the same person, but no fingerprint or DNA evidence was recovered. Surveillance footage from her parking lot showed a dark sedan circling the block multiple times, but the plates couldn't be read.
What about Maddie's personal relationships? Did friends, boyfriends, or coworkers become suspects or provide useful information?
Maddie's ex-boyfriend, Tyler Frick, was questioned intensively. Their relationship had ended acrimoniously 3 weeks before she disappeared, and neighbors reported loud arguments. Tyler had an alibi. He was at a friend's birthday party, with multiple witnesses and phone GPS corroboration. Her closest friend, Jenna Myers, told police Maddie had recently confided about someone watching her from the shadows and expressed fear about walking home at night.
Did the investigators ever connect the dots between these fears and anyone in Maddie's immediate circle? Or did they rule everyone out?
Every person in Maddie's circle underwent background checks and interviews. No one had a provable motive or opportunity. The shadow Maddie referred to remains unidentified. The only suspicious figure is the one from the gas station footage, but with no facial recognition or license plate, it's a dead end for now. Investigators continue to review cold case databases for similar patterns, hoping to match the MO to another offender.
What about the behavioral analysis unit's involvement? What have their profiles revealed about the possible abductor or perpetrator?
The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit believes Maddie's disappearance fits the pattern of a targeted abduction by someone known to her, likely with a history of stalking or coercive control. The unsub, or unknown subject, is believed to be male, late 20s to early 40s, with local ties and a history of escalating antisocial behavior. They cite the personalized threats and the calculated approach as hallmarks of a predator who had observed Maddie for weeks, maybe months.
Are there any similar cases in Williston or nearby areas? Could Maddie's disappearance be linked to a serial perpetrator?
There are 3 unsolved cases of missing women in the Williston region since 2015, all involving young women who vanished late at night, leaving behind personal belongings. The similarities prompted the task force to examine possible connections. While no forensic evidence directly links the cases, the modus operandi, late night, isolated victim, minimal evidence, has led investigators to consider the possibility of a serial offender, though this remains unproven.
What about forensic advancements in the case? Has new technology uncovered any overlooked clues from the original crime scene?
In 2024, the crime lab used advanced luminol testing on Maddie's abandoned car, parked 3 blocks from her apartment. Trace amounts of blood were found beneath the driver's seat. DNA analysis revealed it belonged to Maddie, but the quantity was too small to determine if it indicated injury or simply a minor cut. Forensic vacuuming of the car's upholstery also uncovered a single blonde hair, which did not match Maddie or anyone in her family. The hair's DNA profile was uploaded to CODIS, but so far, no match.
That's fascinating. Have there been any new efforts involving genetic genealogy or public outreach to identify the source of the hair or generate new leads?
In early 2025, the task force partnered with Parabon Nanolabs to develop a phenotype profile from the unidentified hair. The resulting composite image, a male, approximately 30 to 40 years